Welcome to Death and Aliens, an in-depth look at horror and sci-fi TV from two friends who vaguely know what they're doing. I'm MK,
And I'm Courtney.
and I just noticed now that we look like a Christmas tree because I'm wearing forest green and you are wearing like burgundy red, and I just saw that. A little early for that, but how are you?
I'm good. I didn't even notice because when my camera turned on all the way, for those of you who don't know, I have to use my phone camera because my laptop camera sucks. I realized how well my lips and my shirt went together. And so I didn't even notice the comparison between me and you.
Well,
Um,
I was looking at the fact that my shirt and my wall don't
oh,
go together, and then I was like, oh, but our shirts match.
for Christmas. It's because it's no longer summer and every day feels like Christmas now. So
Sure.
here we are. So I'm doing great because it's not summer. Um, but also I'm doing great because yesterday was a very long day, but very fun day. It was the first festival that I did with Caitlin. And so she went and played, and it's a great festival, but the rain really inhibited the turnout. So instead of the
Mm,
5,000 people they normally have, it was not that many. Um, but we talked to some like really great people. Like it's run by like the events are all run by a radio station out in Long Island. And so we met this guy who plays a lot in Long Island. I got a lot of good contacts for like branching out. And
very
the radio
nice.
station like hosts other festivals. They're a little bit smaller, but they'll pay and they'll get, the festival. That's how you get on the festival route. Spoiler
Yeah.
alert, is to be in other festivals. Like so we're feel like we're on like the up and up, and it's about an hour and a half in the rain drive from Forest Hills to Setauket. So I like drove, and I love driving, and I never had to drive anymore.
Yeah.
So we had the best time, and we just like hung out, and we like jammed music on the way there, and then she listened to the podcast on the way back because she hadn't heard it before. And yeah, and then she had another gig last night, and I really tried to hang in there. I really did. And I made it like an hour and a half, and I was like, I'm going to fall asleep sitting at the bar. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna go
I'm pretty
in the
sure that you
rain.
texted me that you were falling asleep sitting at the bar.
I did. I was like, I'm gonna drink whiskey because that feels right.
Yeah.
And it did. And then it was not a great old fashioned, first of all. They don't make
Mm.
for great cocktails there. I should have stuck to beer. But nonetheless, I had my old fashioned and I had dinner, and I couldn't even eat my dinner because I was so tired. So just a day full of music, and hopefully a launch to bigger and better things for Caitlin's music career
Yay.
for fun. So
Fantastic.
I'm
I
doing well. How are you?
I wasn't sure what I was going to talk about, but because you were just saying that you were launching your career into bigger and better things, I decided I will talk about. I had my first observation class this weekend.
Yeah.
It was very interesting because I didn't have any kids. So it's an adult ENL class, but they bring their kids for the other teachers to like work with so they don't have to pay with childcare. But not nobody really brought their kids. There was one child there. So I didn't really help them. I helped with the adult class, which was fine, except for that I don't know if that actually counts for my hours. So that's a whole other thing I have to figure out. Um, but it was great and I loved it. And they like all of the people in the class just like really wanted to learn and were like really nice and really excited and really trying really hard. And it was so nice and it was so sweet.
I love that.
Yeah. And it was very different than my students.
Is they're not children?
Well, yeah, but also my students don't want to learn or respect me. So,
Oh, good. That's always good.
no, I mean, they do. They do better than a lot of teachers, but some days I just want to um, throw myself out the window to escape them. In fact, the
Right.
eighth graders asked if for their graduation I could finally do that because
Oh, that's nice.
I keep threatening it. But they don't want me to die. They want to test different kinds of parachutes to see which one makes me float the longest. Um,
Well, traditionally you do that with an egg in classes.
right.
That's an experiment, not a
I
human.
weigh significantly more than an egg. Um,
And it's not like the feather watermelon trick. It's not.
No, no, that's not how that works.
Although, are you on like the ground floor? Like, if you threw yourself out the window, would you just like be outside?
And oh, I'm on the second floor, but
Probably like still survive.
there is a sloped grass ledge under my window. So like
Okay, so this is
so
perfect.
yeah,
Tuck and
so
roll.
exactly. I'm not it would hurt, but I wouldn't die.
Yeah. And it would make for a really cool like action scene. Make sure someone films it.
Yeah, not any of them. Their camera skills would not be worth it. Um, but yeah,
I'll dance that day. Because you'll also need someone to drive you home probably. So
or an ambulance.
right. Right. But Dan could
So
also shoot the camera and then you wouldn't have to pay for an ambulance.
that's true because ambulances are the most expensive part of healthcare.
He just drive you wherever you need to go, whether it's home or a hospital.
Fair enough, fair enough.
Um,
He, Dan, if you are listening, I'm so sorry. I'm not actually going to jump out the window. Please don't have a panic attack.
you never.
Um,
She'll call you if she will, though. That's what we just
yeah.
said. So you'll know in advance.
Yeah, I'll give you fair warning. But other than that, I don't know. It's just getting back in the swing of things. Been working a lot. Um, yeah,
Heard
I
that.
still have 12 more days before I have a day off. No, wait, it was 12 yesterday, so we're at
Yeah,
11.
I was like, it's 11 now.
11 days till I have a day off. So I will probably make it.
You'll be fine.
Yeah,
Got
that'll be
this.
great.
You
That'll
got a
be
care
great.
package today. It's like a reset.
That's true. Oh, I forgot to check if I got mail today too.
It's a total reset. So now it's like you had a day off. And
Apparently I got mail at Dan's house today. Um it was weird. Doug was opening his mail and I was like, "Oh, you got mail?" He goes, "Yeah, so did you." I was like, "What?" He was like, he was like, "Yeah, you got mail here." I said, "I'm sorry, what?" He was like, "It's just a postcard from the Buffalo Philharmonic," which makes sense because Dan, whenever he has a concert, he gets the tickets under his account, but puts my name on them so I can get it from the box office.
right.
So the Philharmonic sends the mail out, and it totally made sense. It tracked what it was and why it happened. But he goes, "Yeah, it was just," he was like, "It was a postcard from the Philharmonic," and he goes, "I just threw it out. I hope you didn't really care." And I was like, I didn't, but thank you so much.
Thank you for committing mail fraud.
Yeah, right. I mean, to be fair, I don't live there. Mail addressed to me there isn't really mine.
You know,
So,
but is it? Because like when you move, like people are still like couldn't like if
yeah,
you don't
but
live here anymore.
you're supposed to register your address and have a forwarding address.
Yeah, but if you don't, is it not mail fraud? Like if I get someone else's mail and I open it, who used to live here because they didn't forward it?
No, maybe, but it wasn't something that you could open. It was like a flyer to like buy things, like an insert. So there was no opening it.
But like destroying is also mail fraud. I
That's
have
a
a lot of questions for
that
Doug.
well, to be fair, Doug's birthday was last week.
Yes.
And his did I tell you that his birthday card just said that he was committing a felony? Um, the birthday card that I got him, that Dan and I got him, was not a birthday card. The cover had two storks carrying babies, and one said, "This one's really cute. I think I'll keep it for myself." And the other one said, "That's a felony, Doug." And then
I love it.
the inside said, "Congratulations on your new bundle of joy." And I wrote underneath it, or your birthday, whatever, I guess.
That's the perfect card.
It was. It was the perfect birthday card. But I literally just walked in the store and saw a card that said, "That's a felony, Dog." And I was like, I don't care what this card is. I need it.
Doesn't matter what else it says.
I guess that was a precursor to him destroying my mail.
Yeah,
So
you knew. You knew in advance.
I knew in advance. Um, which I mean, I can't think of a segue for you to give me a
That's
spiritual
okay.
quote. But I
I
also
was
picked up
waiting.
my phone. I picked up my phone specifically to look up something based on what we were talking about. And now I have no idea what it was.
It
So
happened.
it couldn't have been that important. And if it was, I'm sure I'll think of it at some point.
It's okay because you know it is important.
Please tell me. Yeah, yeah.
Our spiritual health. And
Fantastic.
I will forewarn you, I did find another quote on Saturday I was going to use. And then I was like, it's a little dark. And I was like, sometimes life is a little dark. And then I've had a few days since then, and I slept. And I found a different quote
Good, good.
that is not dark. It is very good. Um, the good you do will never go to waste. So even if it goes unnoticed, do good anyway. Isn't that nice?
That is nice.
Whatever else I had before was not as
No,
nice. Not as nice. But
good.
it's fine. It's fine. We left that one out.
Well, you know what else is nice?
Potentially my favorite episode of Stargate ever.
Stargate SG-1 Season 4, Episode 11.
I want you to know, I felt like Stefan could have introduced this episode. This episode has everything. It has aliens, it has conspiracy theories, it has cults, it has murder. Like, it's everything wrapped into one. And I'm very excited to talk
It
about
has one of wait till you find out what I'm the most excited to talk about in this episode because
Okay.
it is none of those things you just said.
Well, those are the things I spoke about this episode in all my notes. So.
Well, and I will talk about all of those things, but the moment of this episode that I liked the most had to do with none of those things, which just tells you how bonkers this episode is.
Yes.
And this episode is called Point of No Return. It was rated 7.6 stars.
No, wrong. 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10.
I would give it a 10, but I would probably definitely go higher than a 7.6. I would go somewhere closer to an 8 for sure.
10 out of 10. No questions.
It came out on September 8th, 2000. We had the same number one song, but the number one book was The Bear and the Dragon by Tom Clancy. And I
I don't
wrote
know the name of any of his books.
I wrote by Tom Clancy twice. That was confusing. It's one of the Jack Ryan novels.
Okay. Yes.
So I haven't read it, but I do know that the Jack Ryan series is a big deal.
I also haven't read it, and I also haven't seen the show, even though
they made a TV show with John Krasinski, so like I should watch it.
and Wendell Pierce.
Yeah, so I should watch it.
And it's also this. I will take credit and say this show is the reason I met John Krasinski. So I probably should watch it.
Yeah, probably. Also, you met John Krasinski. How did I not know that?
Have I not told you this moment of my life? Surely, because my bestie Wendell came to the bar every night when I worked there, and one night I was.
You for sure did not tell me that John Krasinski came to the bar.
I have told every person I know except you then. I'm so sorry. We must not have recorded that. That's all I talked about for ages. So here's the story then. So they used to like just kind of like sneak in and go like sit at a back table so people didn't bother them or whatever. And like,
yeah.
So I like noticed them, but I was like, it's totally fine. I didn't notice John Krasinski. I noticed Wendell Pierce and and his wife and like people that I knew. And so I like made my way over there and I was like, how's it going? What's happening? Blah, 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 blah. Like, fine. I talk to you every day. So like, I'm just greeting you. And I was like, you want a dark and stormy? You want this? I'm like, yeah, blah, blah, blah. So I turn to my left here. I'm here standing. Yeah. There is a human here sitting. I turn to my left and John Krasinski turns to his right, pulls his mask down, orders a scotch. And I just froze. And like, I was in my like, super chill element because I talk to these people every day and they're super nice.
Yeah.
And I did not know I didn't even know like what he ordered. I was like, I heard Macallan 12 and I was like, great. And then I was like, I have no idea if he wants ice or not. I was like, I don't know if he wants anything else or not, but that's all he's getting now because I don't know what else has happened. And I just had to like make notes on my pad so that I didn't say anything crazy or react more than just blank face. And it was incredible. And he was very I this probably isn't illegal, but he is the one who paid, so I took a picture of his signature on the check. I didn't send it to you. I don't know if that's illegal or not. So
I
it's
think it might be.
not a joke.
Yeah. I don't know.
But I can't believe we've never had this conversation.
Yeah. I love John Krasinski.
Me too. I died.
Oh
It
my
was
God.
I got his order wrong also because he did want ice in his scotch, and
I
I
mean, I
didn't.
can't imagine why you would drink a scotch without ice unless you were like,
Scotch neat. Everyone does. It's like more common to
no,
get it.
I feel like only old white men drink it neat,
Nah. Yeah.
like scotch. So like,
I
don't
also
ask
don't
me.
like scotch, but we have a full scotch bar and like
Yeah.
people drink it neat a lot of the time, but
Mhm.
he did want ice in it and I did not get that for him. And then he was like, "Oh, do you think I can have a couple of cubes?" I was like, "Absolutely. You can have whatever
You
you want.
can, yeah, you can have a whole bucket of ice if you'd like.
I will, yes. I will just sit beside you and hand you pieces of ice as long as you need them." And I walked up because I walked up to the bar afterwards and it was while Kathy was still there. And I walked up and I was like, "John Krasinski is at the table with Wendell Pierce." And she was like, "What?" I was like, "John Krasinski is at the table behind me." And she was like, and then she started losing her mind. And then I was trying
Yeah.
very hard to keep it together because
Yeah.
I've had a lot of people come in there, like Matt Damon came in there, like Bobby Cannavale came in there. Like, I
Yeah.
don't get too
Which, here's the
starstruck.
thing. You told me about Matt Damon and Bobby
Yeah.
Cannavale. I knew about both of those. I love both of them. Not the same. How did you not tell me about John Krasinski?
I truly we must not have recorded that week because I only talked about this for 2 weeks. I thought
When?
it was everyone I knew, so I don't know how I missed you. I
I don't
probably what
know.
happened was I didn't text you because I was going to tell you on the podcast.
And then we had
And
a weird week where we didn't record, and so many things happened by the time we got there
yeah,
that
yeah, that's what I'm guessing. So sorry. There's
fair
my second
enough.
story for the episode that I thought I shared on another episode already.
It's all right. The
But
number
that's
one,
why we love Jack Ryan series.
yes, exactly. And the number one movie that day was a new movie that day. It was called The Watcher. Um, I've never seen it, but it is a psychological thriller about a serial killer, and the FBI agent that is hunting him. It stars Keanu Reeves as the serial killer and James Spader as the FBI agent.
Nope, this is a different movie I was thinking of.
Mm.
There's a movie that I watched with Keanu Reeves that two girls are serial killers that come into his house, but I don't remember what it's called.
Oh,
I
yes, I
watched that
know.
last year for my 30 days of Halloween, which is coming out. Um,
I
there's also
I
a new movie called The Watcher that came out like 2 years ago. That's a horror film that is not.
yes, it's not the same one.
I've seen that
No.
one.
No, the Keanu Reeves one, I saw a clip of it on like an Instagram or TikTok or something the other day. It looks fucked up.
It is. It is.
Um, but
I would not watch it again, but I did watch it once.
this one Keanu plays the serial killer, not the victim.
That's how I
Um,
realized I had my movie
yes.
switch.
But I don't know anything about it except for that apparently it's really good. All the things that I was reading about it were good, but it's also a 2000 psycho like thriller, so like I don't know. But I did find it fascinating. I did want to give a special shout out to James Spader because the original Daniel Jackson.
Of course.
But also Marissa Tomei was in it. She was the other star.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I like
yeah,
that too. That's
yeah.
okay. This is very early 2000s. Yes.
Well, it was literally 2000. It came out
Right.
on September 8th, 2000.
That makes sense. Yeah.
The only thing that I could find in the news for that day, for the whole national news, is funny because it is from Buffalo. And the more that I read about it, do vaguely remember this happening. But again, I was 8, so I didn't really know what it was. But all of the Buffalo public school teachers went on strike on the first day of school. They just decided, they just walked out.
You should do that. You
Yeah,
can't go to a Catholic school, right? Because
I
private.
can't because I formally dissolved our union, so we don't have a union anymore, and I did that. So like I definitely can't go on strike.
Yeah, you're not the one. You're not the one.
No. No, I led the vote to dissolve the union, so I don't think I can go on strike.
No, no.
Um, oops. So, anyway, but speaking of unions, today is September. For those of you who don't know that we record in a stupid order, today is September 25th, 2023, and the WGA has officially entered negotiation and the writer strike is going to end, which is
They started Thursday.
yeah.
I went
I think
to the Songwriters North America meeting, and the woman in charge of it was in DC at the events before she came to the meeting. So
yeah, I think today they finalize everything. They just have to get the lawyers to contract, type it up and everything. But so as of today, the strike is technically over. I don't think that the SAG strike ended though.
I only saw it for the Writers Guild.
I saw it for the writer's strike. So I don't. So if SAG after didn't end, then that still doesn't mean New TV's going to come back. Because there's not going to be anybody to put in the shows. But at least they can start writing again.
Yeah, but I assume also that like if the writers, it said like what I was seeing was like positive feedback from the entertainment industry, like on the writers' side, I was seeing positive feedback. So
yeah.
I would assume that means that the writers are getting a lot of things they asked for, at least a good
everything that I saw said that it was
also get those benefits, and so it'll be a little bit quicker negotiation than that.
Once now that they've negotiated for the writers, it might be easier for them to also do the.
That's what I'm hoping.
But yeah,
but also the government might shut down this week, so we'll see. Did you see that?
I have been ignoring the government so much. Dan told me about something that happened to a senator in New Jersey, and he goes, "Did you read about that?" And I go, I like to pretend that I live not in any government right now, like in just a bubble.
I only know because Michelle's the executive director of SONA, which is Songwriters North America. So she like heads the advocacy for the organization. Yeah. So she goes to DC to talk to them every so often. So she was in DC that morning and she came and she was like, "This is what's happening with BMI. This is what's happening with the Writers Guild. This is what's happening with the government potentially shutting down next week." I was like, all right. So it was I got like beat by beat. It wasn't, I also didn't dive into it.
No, my favorite quote that I heard, it was from one of the weird like film and television critique videos that Doug watches, and the news guys said that if the writer's strike doesn't end and like movies don't start back up again, the only way anyone's going to see Timothée Chalamet on their screen is if they watch Keeping Up with the Kardashians, and because he's dating Kylie Jenner or Kendall Jenner, whatever, one of the Jenners, and I just laughed so hard. I was like, what is this world coming to?
The end. It's coming to the end.
Yeah, for sure. This episode though, also today was the most Monday I've had in a very long time. So I apologize deeply. But this episode was directed by William Garrity, who we haven't heard in a while, but we have had him. Yeah, we just haven't heard his name in a little bit. It was written by Joseph Malazzi and Paul Mully and edited by Brad Rines. And our guest star is Willie Garson. He is known for White Collar, Sex and the City, and Hawaii Five-0. But he has over 300 episodes of TV to his name. He also had major roles in NYPD Blue and Ask Harriet. He was the only actor ever to play a different character, but still star in both Boy Meets World and Girl Meets World. And he also directed for Girl Meets World. He strangely played 3 different iterations of Lee Harvey Oswald.
That's unfortunate. That feels like
he was best friends with Sarah Jessica Parker.
I was going to say, and Carrie Bradshaw.
Yes. Well, his character on Sex and the City is where most people know him from. And he was the girls from that show. He was genuinely very close. I believe he was SJP's son's godfather, though. Like,
I think you're right.
They were like very, very close. He did adopt a son. in the early 2000s. I don't remember. Um, and unfortunately, in September of 2021, he passed away with pancreatic cancer at the age of 57.
I had no idea he died.
Really? It was
No idea.
so tragic. Everybody who worked with him was like devastated, obviously, and he worked with so many people.
Yeah.
When he passed away, it was so tragic.
I had no idea. I mean, I follow Matt Bomber I love White Collar. So if you haven't seen it,
Yeah,
definitely go watch that too.
yeah,
But I feel like I see when he posts a lot of stuff, so I feel like I should have seen this.
yeah. I remember like Cynthia Nixon and Sarah Jessica Parker, their posts were like
Very closely too.
tragic. Yeah,
Maybe
it
I
was
did see
it.
it. It's just like not memory.
Yeah, well, it was September of 2021, so it was 2 years ago now.
Yeah, I don't know.
But it's so funny because last week I was like, oh, I can't wait to talk about this guest star. I was so excited because I knew that he was going to be in this episode. And then after I hung up like the recording with you, I go, oh fuck, I'm gonna have to talk about him dying, and that's gonna be so sad.
So sad.
Um, yeah, and it was pancreatic cancer, and it was awful. I never met him, but everyone that I know who ever did had nothing but good things to say about him. He was just funny and kind, and everybody really liked him. So
That's
we
so
love,
nice.
we love you, Willie.
Me too.
Um, yeah,
Sorry I missed your death.
it's okay. It happens. A lot of people die every day, and we don't notice them,
It's true.
which
I
is
tried
also
on the horror podcast.
yeah. But finally getting into this episode after like 50 minutes of rambling. It wasn't that long, but it felt like it.
Sure did.
Um,
It was chaotic.
Stargate SG-1, like the SG-1 team is about to have an important meeting, and they have no idea what it's about, and everyone is talking about how they have something really important to do, except for Jack. This episode is very odd. Some of the dialogue choices are just
Yeah.
weird.
Also, this is my first question for you, just right off the bat.
Yeah.
Do they just like make up these planet numbers on the fly if it's not like a planet that they go to all the time? Because like both Daniel Jackson and Sam were like, here are our planets PX. Blah, 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 blah.
Well, P3X.
Well, the one Daniel Jackson said is the one they normally go to, right?
No. All of their planets are P3X something, something, something. So unless you're actually closely paying attention to what those three numbers are, you don't know what they're talking about. I couldn't tell you what numbers go to what planet at all.
I for a minute learned the one where the mirror world happened because we went there 3 times in one season.
Yeah.
And I've forgotten it.
Yeah, no, I genuinely, maybe one day I will make a list of all of the planets or find someone who's already done this because I'm sure someone's already done it, and figure out what planets are what numbers, but I am not that big of a nerd.
Season wrap up notes. I'm gonna write that down for you.
Okay. So Hammond comes in because they received a call in the middle of the night. And the person who left a message asked specifically for Jack and then rambled for 15 minutes about every conspiracy theory that he knows is actually true. And then he also said that he knew everything about the Stargate.
This is how I knew I was gonna love this episode. We just start off hot with conspiracy theories.
Hammond fast forwarding through the cassette tape, getting it that precisely means that he's listened to it far too many times. And B, the fact that he talked enough to need to fast forward a cassette tape that much. What on earth were you doing? How many more conspiracies could there possibly have been? Like all the ones that we heard were ones that I've heard of. But there was like 15 minutes of unheard words.
I could give you 15 minutes of conspiracy theories we did not hear about. Don't worry. I won't in this moment because we've talked about Stargate, but
I mean, to be fair, I listened to a last podcast episode yesterday that was just them playing recordings of sounds that can't be explained, like the bloop and weird things from space. So, like, I can't judge anyone,
There's a
but I do
I will
also
not
judge
call,
everyone.
I will not call the Air Force and tell them I know all these are real, but I could call anyone and tell them a list of the ones people think are real that I don't believe are real. But there's
Um,
a few.
I, there are some that I can get behind, but most of them I just am very, very skeptical because I can poke holes in it. And if I can
Yeah.
poke that many holes in it,
The ones that I think are the hardest to poke holes in are the government ones, and it's because half of them are true.
well, the
I mean,
government
like
ones,
MK
the go
Ultra came out as true as declassified. Like,
right. So the government ones are all either actually true or so absurd that they can't possibly be true, or they're ones that the government is intentionally making true. Like, I'm going to be real, talking about government conspiracy theories. I think the whole bullshit that all the government came out with about aliens this year was a fucking cover up for
oh,
whatever.
absolutely, they were doing
All,
something else. No, no.
all the other shit that was going on this month, they were like, "Fuck, aliens are real," and I was like,
Yeah.
"No."
While I will
Um,
not staunchly say I don't believe in aliens, I will
oh no,
say
no,
that that was a cover up.
no, exactly, exactly. I'm no, that was not me saying I don't believe in aliens. That was me saying that the government's explanation of their prior contact with aliens was a fucking cover up.
I mean, they have like they tried to use cats for conspiracy theory, like for not conspiracy, but for like um events. They put like ones they put explosives on, which obviously is not PC, and then others they try to put speakers on, but then the cats like didn't follow instructions because they're cats. They had like a
Yeah.
whole cat thing that became out declassified eventually, but it was a conspiracy for a while. Like,
The only one that I firmly don't believe in, but I will continue to tell everyone is true because it amuses me to no end is the fact that birds are all
that's
robots.
also my favorite. I tell
That is,
everyone it. I get the strangest looks. It's so fun.
I fully don't believe it. I have personally helped a pigeon give birth. Like I have worked with birds long enough to not believe that.
I mean, I live in New York City. Pigeons are real.
Yeah, no, but is it my favorite conspiracy theory of all time? Absolutely.
Anytime I was just hanging out with someone the other day that I have only known briefly. They're one of Caitlin's friends, and we were on the train together. And somehow conspiracy theories. Who knows? It was midnight, and we'd been drinking, so I don't even
Yeah.
know. And I was like, "Oh, the craziest ones are birds aren't real." And he looked at me like I was a lunatic, and I was like, "I don't believe this. To be clear, I just like to tell people
Well,
about it."
sometimes Dan looks at me like an idiot because I will just like staunchly say something, whether it's true or not. I will just say it as if I believe it, and then he has to like stop and be like, "Babe, can we have a conversation?" Like the one day he was talking about ordering furniture, and I go, "Well, you're not ordering it from Wayfair, are you?" And he was like, "Yeah." I go, "Well, they sell children." And he was like, "I'm sorry, what?" And I was like, "Yeah, they sell kids. That's why the furniture all has names of little girls." And he was like, he just looked at me. He was like, you don't believe that that's true, do you?" I go, "I don't believe that it's not."
See, I do this at the office because they know me well enough now to know that, like, even if I say something crazy, like, they may not know if I believe it or not, but they'll be able to figure it out within 10 minutes if I believe it or not.
It is so fun to make people think that I'm insane.
My favorite pastime.
Um, but anyway, this man is insane.
Is
But also he somehow knows everything about Stargate.
Yeah.
Um, so Hammond sends them out to meet with him. He wants to meet with Jack alone, and Hammond sends them out to meet with him to do some damage control. And then we get the credits. Um, and then Jack goes to the restaurant, and Martin arrives. Martin is obviously our friend Willie
Party.
Carson. And Marty arrives and checks Jack for transmitters. Um, and he's like, "I'm sorry, I'm just afraid that I'm always being watched." And then we get the funniest funniest thing where he's talking about somebody always watching him, and Teal'c is in the kitchen and he just turns the ticket order on the like on the kitchen thing, and there's a hidden camera in it.
Yeah, that was funny. Also, I was like, Teal'c, that's who you chose to put in the kitchen. Like, he's the one that's going to come off as a normal person in the kitchen. He doesn't even probably know what all the foods are.
No, they put him in there so that we could see him wearing a chef's hat to cover his
Correct.
head.
That was only for us.
That
That was not for
for
the
us.
mission.
And the camera's being fed to Sam and Daniel, who are in a van doing surveillance, and Daniel is acting like a fucking noob.
This is so I mean, this is like they tried to create a detective show. It was like I felt like I was almost watching like the X-Files.
I felt like I was watching an episode of NCIS because like the jokes were bad.
Yeah.
But like the way DiNozzo purposely tells bad jokes kind of bad, and it was so odd. I don't know what was happening for this entire
It was
episode.
such a weird episode.
Um, but so Martin tells Jack that he knows all these things about the Stargate, and the reason he's looking for them is because he actually needs to go through the Stargate because he's from outer space. And then he wants to take Jack to his ship. And he believes that he's descended from the original people that were kidnapped from Earth.
I mean,
So like
explaining what happened with the
well, and that's the thing. He's saying details that even creepy internet people could not know.
Right.
So Sam sends Jack a message through the chat to stall him because they got his address and they're going to go check out his house. Yeah.
I feel like following him into the woods was not the number one choice. Like, I feel like
right. If somebody said stall him, I don't know that I'd say, sure, lead me on a wild goose chase to your
I would say, tell me
spaceship.
about all these 20 minutes of other theories you've thought about. I'll have you for 8 more hours explaining each one. Like,
yeah, I would definitely ask his opinions on the Kennedy assassination.
oh, for sure.
So
I'd want to ask about MK Ultra, which I thought is where this episode was going. It is not, but it is.
It was in this beginning when they're still in the restaurant where he explains that the moon landing conspiracy theory is actually the government trying to cover up the other lunar conspiracy theories, and so they try to get us to believe that the moon landing was faked. I was like, he's like, no, we went to the moon, but
yeah, it's like that happened. That's one I'll also never believe. Like,
no,
technology is technology and space is space, science is science. Like, you're not going to convince me otherwise.
No. Yeah. Especially because like the reasons behind us faking it are so flimsy
and so unnecessary. Like, it's so dumb. Yeah. That's what Sinisterhood did. They're like, they called it the full moon tour, and so they did a lot of different like moon stuff, and they talked like vampires, werewolves, they talked about the moon landing, and they talked about like different astronaut stuff. So like they slipped it in, but it wasn't all about the moon landing. But they went through the conspiracies and whatnot.
Crazy. So he does try to take Jack to his ship, and he says he knows he can trust Jack because he feels that they have something in common. And it was weird.
This episode, and I still don't know what they have in common.
No, I don't know.
I don't know the answer still.
No. But the rest of the team goes and breaks into his house. And here we have some funny moments where Sam walks up to an alien figurine and goes, "Hey, you look familiar." Because it's clearly one of the puppets that they used for the Asgard. And then Teal'c tells a joke that is one of the funniest moments of the entire episode. He picks up a toy like phaser gun and shoots it and goes, "It appears that this weapon is ineffective." But like he's laughing, like he knows he's telling a joke.
Right.
And that is one of my favorite moments of all time. Whenever Teal'c intentionally tells a joke, I can't.
My favorite Teal'c
Um,
moment comes in the future.
oh, it might. I think your favorite Teal'c moment might be the thing that I need to talk about for the entire episode.
Great.
Um, so the rest they go in, they start joking, and then Daniel finds his collection of psychiatric medication, which is like the size of a spice cabinet.
Which is why I thought it was going to be an MK Ultra episode, because that's what they did, was they like dosed people with psychedelics. And so I was like, this is where we're going. It's not. It's not.
Um, so then we flash back to Martin and Jack, and they still have not found the spaceship, and Jack finally convinces him to give up and go out of the woods. And this poor man is losing it. Um, Daniel is also just convinced that Martin is a paranoid, delusional schizophrenic and that there's nothing to any of these things and that he is just like actually making all of it up. But there's actually a camera in the house monitoring Martin. And
My theories fell apart.
that is when you go, I'm sorry, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
because that just takes it to a whole new level. And the men who are monitoring Martin discover that Teal'c is not human. So that's a positive sign always.
Yeah.
Then we get our one real quick look at Janet. Don't worry, she's still thriving. She has done a chemical analysis on all of Martin's medications, and there are unidentified chemicals present.
Yeah.
Like the drugs aren't what they're supposed to be. And she thinks that these medicines may actually be causing his delusions rather than helping him.
Yeah.
Great. Which, again, MK Ultra. So
Follows. Everything
yeah.
is falling into place.
So Sam and Daniel go to talk to the psychiatrist, Dr. Tanner, and Dr. Tanner says that Martin is just purely delusional and trying to draw them into his delusion and that they're falling for it. And then we go to a motel room where Jack is watching old 1950s alien movies and making very strange noises. And Teal'c is using a coin-operated vibrating bed.
They're clearly in the highest of qualities of motels.
Now, I think this is what I was going to look up. Was that a thing?
Yes. It was in shady motels. All of the hotels that are portrayed as being where sex workers go, those were the type of places that held these vibrating beds.
Oh God, they're called Magic Fingers is the brand.
Yeah. There's nothing good about these beds. There's only bad. Except for the scene of Stargate. This is the only good time I've seen this bed present.
Wow. This is so the weird thing, okay, is that these beds were originally not supposed to be a creepy thing, and then people made it a creepy thing because
Correct.
the 60s and 70s were a fucking weird time. But
where did you think the Sims got their idea for the vibrating love bed they have?
I never played The Sims.
Oh, that's sad for your childhood. You would have enjoyed it.
I'm sure I would have. I don't know if it would have been good for my mental health because I already try to throw people out windows too often. So
I was gonna say you definitely would have logged people's impulse. I did.
Yeah.
And
no, I desperately want a vibrating bed. Not in a creepy sexual way.
One?
Yeah, not in a creepy sexual way, not in a sketchy hotel, put a quarter in it kind of way. But I was watching that and I was just like, that is both the worst and best thing I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah.
what happened was I just was quickly skimmed an article about the man who invented them, realized in repairing one that it was actually going to be cheaper to make an external vibrating device that people could buy and put on their beds rather than actually making a vibrating beds. And that's why they stopped making them, because they were fucking expensive.
Yeah. They were like super high class when they came out, and then they
Yeah.
a lot of their stuff that happened. But like they have things you can put in between your mattress and your box spring to vibrate.
Yeah.
They have clocks that do that. Like they have all kinds of weird stuff.
Yeah.
I don't wake up with alarms well, so we've looked at quite a few options for how to wake me up in
Well,
the
I
morning. So that was
knew,
one of
no, and I know that that's a thing that exists, because my friend went to RIT, and like RIT, the Rochester Institute of Technology, has, most people don't, I don't really know if they
MIT of
know this.
Rochester.
Kind of, but they also have one of the largest deaf populations of any school. Like Gallaudet has
Oh,
obviously the biggest, but they have a very, very, very large deaf and hard of hearing population. Um, and my friend lived on one of the deaf floors.
you said deaf? I heard
Yes.
deaf.
Oh no, deaf. Deaf,
Deaf.
hard of hearing. Yes.
So much better. So much better.
Okay, your reaction makes more sense now.
Yes.
Yes, my friend lived on one of the deaf floors, so she would get woken up every morning by all of the alarm clocks for the deaf students on her floor, and they were all like bed vibration alarm clocks.
Yep.
So I didn't know that those existed, but I didn't know that that was like a thing that you could just like have in your bed.
You can have anything you want if you have enough money. Those actually probably aren't that expensive, but like
Uh,
otherwise.
yeah, I would not. That hotel looked so cheap.
Because it was the sketchy motels with the vibrating beds.
That is amazing.
Yeah,
I wonder how many motels still have that. Could you imagine if Norman Bates had that in his motel?
probably did. They just didn't want to show us. They didn't want to make him creepier than he was.
I don't know how he could have become
Probably didn't
creepier.
exist at that point. That actually they probably didn't exist at the point. Whatever. When did they come
No,
out? What'd you say? What year did you say they came out?
they were really, really popular in the 60s and 70s.
Oh, that's true. You
So
said that.
yeah. So they would have already existed in the 50s. Weird. Anyway, that was the thing that I was the most excited to talk about. It wasn't the alien conspiracy theories. It was Teal'c on a vibrating bed.
Because he was like a child. It was so
I know.
cute.
It
And he
was
just walks up
adorable.
and like put his hand out for money. And Jack's just
Yes.
like, here's coin. Oh gosh, it was so
It like
cute.
it was definitely like a kid trying to get quarters for the arcade at on a family vacation.
Yes.
100%. Um um but then Marty shows up to talk to Jack
Because of course he
and
does.
decides that and he walks in and Teal'c is there with a hat on, obviously. And he's like, "Do you trust this man?" And Jack was like, "Yes." He was like, "Okay, then I can too." Poor Marty.
Understand this like
Yeah.
belief in Jack that just like
Yeah, I don't, that's the thing. Marty, the most paranoid person of all time, who thinks every level of the government is out to get him, just immediately is like, "Yes, Jack, I trust you and everything you say." Despite the fact that Jack is openly lying to him.
right.
Fantastic. But then Marty's convinced that someone was at his house because he propped a toothpick up against the door.
I mean, he's not wrong,
Right.
but
Um,
kind of a stretch.
yeah. And then he goes in this whole rant about how he gets in and out of his house that is just absolutely insane. Um, then oh, Sam and Daniel are back. We go back to Dr. Tanner and they're asking about the laced drugs, and Dr. Tanner is like indignant that that would happen to one of his patients. Um, and that them following Martin around and asking all these questions are only going to make his delusions worse. Which, to be fair, if he was actually a delusional paranoid schizophrenic who thought the government was out to get him, having the Air Force digging into his background absolutely would fuck his life up.
Yes, absolutely.
Um, they ask
But he
if he
also
has
has
any.
to like have some understanding that like he reached out to Jack, who he knows is with the Air Force. Like,
Yeah,
so realistically, someone's
right.
gonna talking to you.
Yeah. They ask if he has any friends or family that they could like contact. And he gives them his work address and says that that's the best he can do. Um, in that moment,
What does this man do? I was like,
well, A, that. B, in that moment, if you know anything about doctors, you know he's lying.
yeah.
Because there has to be a next of kin,
Mm-hmm.
whether they're biologically related to you or not. If you're talking to a mental health professional, they have to have someone that they can notify or reach out to if you go missing. Like that's not a thing.
Yeah.
So that's a lie. But anyway,
He didn't know a lot about mental health in 2000.
that's fair. And also it was actually a lie. So
Right. It was also a lie. But the fact that
um
they didn't pick up on it immediately.
yeah, you would
And
think
that
they're both
they they probably also like haven't been in therapy because of the times.
right. That's true. Soldiers didn't really do therapy then.
They don't really do therapy now, but
They and not, some of them do, and we're getting better.
we're getting better. We're getting better.
Uh, but Marty is freaking out about all of the things that they're gonna do to him, whoever they are. And Jack is like, okay, how about you sit down and we have a conversation? If, for instance, any of these things that you were saying were true, like why do you believe you need to go there? And he said that he doesn't even know, he just like has a feeling. And Jack tells him to stop taking his drugs for a little bit, just to trust him and not take it, because obviously Jack knows that they're not okay. And Marty says that he's been having flashes of these symbols and he gives them and he wrote them down and he gives them to Jack and they just happen to be a correct 7-digit gate address.
Yep.
Great.
That's when I would be like, yeah, you're not just delusional. You may also be delusional, but
yeah. So then we go back to Sam and Daniel, who are going to the address that Dr. Tanner gave them, and it's just like a creepy warehouse.
felt very much like Tattersall Industries.
Yeah, it was not a good time, but also the amount of you were a trained soldier and you just like walked into an empty warehouse without like any protection or intelligence. Sam was a little stupid this episode, I'm not even gonna lie.
Yeah.
So
And
got
because we're doing this like a detective episode, they
yeah.
didn't even act like they would be detective. I've watched a lot of Blue Bloods lately,
Yeah.
and they didn't even act like detectives would. They would have like cleared the scene before they like just went straight into the middle with their backs turned to the door. Like,
Uh-huh. No, the level of dumb.
yeah,
The guys who were spying on Martin through the alien mask pull guns on Sam and Daniel. And to be fair, that moment where Sam turned around and there were people with guns there very much felt like an episode of NCIS because in NCIS they also often stupidly walk into rooms that they shouldn't.
I will say I have not actually seen NCIS. It's one of the.
Mm,
I'm making my way through the detective
yeah.
show, but they all have 33 seasons each, so
Yeah, no. And
I'll get
NCIS has what 4 spin-offs that also have a million seasons each, so like
right.
it's a
I'll
time.
I'm on Blue Bloods has I think 15 seasons and they're still making it. So
Yeah.
I'll find you on the other end somewhere.
Perfect. Then we go back to the hotel. Jack is trying to call Sam, but she's not answering, obviously, because she's an idiot. And Martin is starting to spiral and says that the secret government put an implant in his head.
Would have been nice to know, bud. Would have been nice to know before this minute.
Right.
Because how do we know someone's not like tracking us with that implant, you know?
And Jack decides at this point that he can no longer take this because he's not a patient man. And he leaves Marty alone with Teal'c to go find Sam.
Yeah.
Then the creepy guys are interrogating Sam and Daniel about Martin and why they need to know anything about him, and Sam and Daniel are finally intelligently not saying anything. Um, then we see that Jack goes to Dr. Tanner's and it's cleared out. There's not a single fucking thing left in that building. And then he goes back to see Teal'c
This was also
and
one of my
like and say that he like sent people out to find Dr. Tanner. And Marty is locked in the bathroom because he tried to fight Teal'c.
He tried to bite him. He
Fight? I
said
thought. Oh,
he
I thought he
said
said. I'm sorry. I tried to fight you.
I thought he said I'm sorry I tried to bite you. Or I won't try to
Oh,
bite you again.
oh. My captions said fight with an F.
Oh, I just
So I think
well,
he said
I'm gonna
fight.
pretend like he
Okay.
said I'm sorry I tried to
Okay. No, I mean I love that also, but I heard fight and my captions said fight, so I assume it was actually fight, but like
probably
also
was.
fight is funny. Um, and then his apology from the bathroom, he's like, "Could I maybe come out now? Or I could just stay here. That's fine too.
Fine
Um,
too.
I'm just a little dizzy." Um, and then he passes out.
Yeah. Yeah. Like
When
my reaction would have been the same as Teal'c, so I'd have been like, I can't with you right now.
yeah.
Just go in there. Just go in there and stay.
Yeah, but then Jack wakes him up after he passes out and he suddenly remembers where his ship is.
Surprise, surprise.
Back in the warehouse, the creepy guys are asking Sam and Daniel all these questions about Teal'c, and the amount of like complete bullshittery that Daniel and Sam say reminds me of middle schoolers. They're like, "Oh, he's just an ordinary tactical agent," and they're like, "Well, I wouldn't call him ordinary. You mean he's great at his job? What is
Very
his job? Script writing."
I
Or
was
no,
like, out of
speech writing. Speech
yeah, speech
writing.
writing. I was like, out of all of them, he's not the one I'm having do speech.
And then they were like, "Okay, so then what's this?" And Daniel goes, "Oh, that's a really pretty duck. Did you draw that yourself?"
I was like, I don't know how they haven't been shot yet, but I'm
Wait,
glad they haven't.
no, what? I mean, good on them for protecting Teal'c, but
Right.
like,
They did the right
that's,
thing,
but
but
yeah, no, if I was the person interrogating them, I would have just shot them out of pure annoyance. Like, not fatally, just enough to hurt them so they stop fucking saying stupid shit.
right. Right.
Um, Then we see that Jack and Teal'c have decided to follow Marty to the field. Jack still doesn't believe Marty, but he knows that it's his best bet of figuring out where the fuck Sam and Daniel are. Um, and they do, in fact, find his ship.
Yeah. This episode was full of surprises.
A wild ride. So an SG team, like backup Air Force team, comes and determines that it is in fact not a terrestrial ship. And Marty starts to remember more details, and they talk about it being an escape pod, and he realizes he didn't come alone. Um, Sam and Daniel continue to play dumb about Teal'c. I think this is where the duck line camp comes in. Um, and then Jack and Teal'c decide to fess up to Marty about the gold and hear more about his story. And his planet was at war against the gold, and they were looking for resources on Earth, but Earth was not advanced enough. Um, then back at the warehouse, Dr. Tanner arrives and to continue the interrogating Sam and Daniel, but the ship is discovered and they get like a little notification that they have been found out. And the bad guys are going to get Marty, and Jack and Teal'c are tracking them. They're using Marty as bait to find these other guys and find Sam and Daniel. So the guys pick Marty up, and he just like will not shut up.
Tells them everything. I was like, are you kidding me right now?
No, but like, have you ever seen that thing that's like, I would be the worst kidnap victim because I would not stop talking? They'd be so much more annoyed to have me than they would.
Yeah.
That is Marty.
Yeah. Yeah.
100%.
For sure.
He's like, hey guys, remember me? Here's everything I know about you and that you know about me, and let's all be friends and let's all talk. Um,
So I'll go home. We can do that. There's a Stargate.
yeah.
It's real. We can
Yeah,
do
it's
all this.
real. We can do. So then Jack and Teal'c bring a SWAT team to the warehouse, and they free everyone. And Marty is like, I stole this device from the aliens before they disappeared. Oh, it's counting down to an explosion. We should leave.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but the thing that ends up exploding is the ship. It is now destroyed. So there's no way to leave via spaceship.
No evidence of
I know,
anything.
yeah. Um, so
Marty Friend.
then, but then they take Marty back to SGC, and they follow the coordinates, and those coordinates do actually lead them to an active gate. General Hammond lets them go through, and they find out that almost all the planet has been destroyed by the war. And Marty realizes that if he had gone home, he would have died. And he asks what they're supposed to do. And Jack says, now we just go home. And they all turn around, including him. And the episode ends. Poor Marty. The episode is there.
So
Do
he's replaced Dom DeLuise, my favorite guest star so far.
fantastic.
DeLuise, because I adore him.
I
But
know. But Ergo is not a better character than Marty.
no,
Dom DeLuise is a great actor, but Ergo is a
no.
choice. I'm trying to remember, there was some trivia, but a lot of the trivia was spoilery. Um, um, Willie Garrison, who plays Martin, an alien who comes off as a paranoid conspiracy theorist, then goes on to play Mozzie in White Collar, who Mozzie is a paranoid conspiracy theorist.
He is great as Mozzie too.
That one is 100% a spoiler. This one, this is the first episode where Teal'c's human nickname Murray is used. It will come back
It comes back, we get Murray.
whenever Jack doesn't know what to call Teal'c. I don't know where Murray came from, but it sticks.
It's
And then
world.
this, I have no idea why this is on IMDb as a trivia, but I'm going to read it because I'm obsessed with the fact that someone actually took the time to post this on IMDb. But it says, Martin mentions the lizard people, which perhaps refers to the Goa'uld, but is also a famous conspiracy theory by David Icke that the world is run by an elite cabal of alien lizard people. Thank you so much, IMDb. You can't tell me what is going on in any of these episodes, but you can give me information about David Icke's lizard people.
Yes. You were familiar with the lizard people, correct?
What?
You were familiar with that concept?
Oh, yeah, no, I'm very familiar with David Icke's lizard people and how people think the British monarchy are lizard people.
Yeah.
Also, for some reason, a lot of people believe that Barack Obama is a lizard person.
Because they also think that Beyonce and Jay-Z and other people during their height when they did the Super Bowl, I think that was when Obama was still in as president. And so like everyone who was in charge then along with them were part of the Illuminati and or lizard people.
I was gonna say I don't know which one is more ridiculous at this point, the lizard people or the Illuminati, but everyone in American mainstream media is part of one of the two, apparently.
I think something similar to the Illuminati exists because we have
like the New World Order.
The New World Order. We have Scientology for all the famous people. So I mean, those are
I can tell you them out to be.
There you are. I didn't hear anything you just said.
Hold on. Okay.
Oh, there you are.
Okay. No, my microphone died again. Because I hit it. No, I can tell you firsthand that the Masons are not what people make them out to be. They may have been at some point in history. Right now, they're just a bunch of old white men who drink beer and do good things for their neighbors,
just like the Moose Lodge.
Yeah, yeah.
Except the Masons don't allow women.
Yeah,
or do they now?
They do now, but you still have to be related to someone.
Right. I mean, it's
or married to someone. Yeah.
essentially an adult person fraternity.
Yeah.
The same with the Moose Lodge. You have to like be connected to get into. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
But yeah, no. Um, but yeah, no, are there definitely people who have way more power pretending that they don't and like running things that they have no business running? Absolutely.
for sure. I don't know that they're called the Illuminati, but
No. No, I don't know. I mean, at this point, they might just call themselves that for shits and gigs because people are obsessed with it.
yeah.
Um, I mean, but like, I don't know, Skull and Bones is a real thing, so like, weird. But
All of
yeah,
that have like have
yeah,
fraternities that turn into like post graduation organizations.
yeah.
Um, and probably more. I just am more familiar with the fact that the Ivies do. I'm sure other places also
No,
do.
yeah, the Ivies are just, next level.
Yeah,
Um, well, you have any thoughts or theories on this?
absolutely not. All of mine are conspiracy theories unrelated to the episode. So
Fair enough. Do you want to punch someone though?
absolutely. I would love
All
to
right.
punch Dr. Tanner. I don't like that he drugged Marty this whole time. I understand that Marty had a lot going on and didn't handle the leaving very well, but I feel like there was a better way to handle it than that. He
Agreed.
was
I
like
fully
pretty
agree. Yeah. Um, I would like to punch Sam. She didn't
mm-hmm.
really do anything wrong per se. She just made a lot of dumb decisions and probably wouldn't have needed to be drugged and kidnapped if she had just like, I don't know, watched her back.
Right. Yeah. That's literally like 101 inspection
Mhm.
and detecting things.
Correct. How about your MVP?
Marty, he's a little crazy, but it's for the best. He just had the best heart. He just wanted to go home. He didn't realize that they had defected because the world was ending. And he
Yeah.
was very kind, if not insane.
Yeah. Um, Marty is obviously the correct choice. I'm torn because my both of my number twos are kind of equal. Um, so I'm gonna go with Teal'c. I was really torn between Jack and Teal'c, but I'm gonna go with Teal'c, mostly because he laid on a vibrating bed and made some good jokes, and I love a good Teal'c joke episode.
Yeah,
Um,
fair.
so I think we are next week is the halfway point for season 4.
Oh, yeah, because this is episode 11.
This is episode 11, so next week is the halfway point. And this episode coming up, uh, is, you know, um, very, very spacey,
Okay.
like actual spacey.
Okay. It's gonna sound like
Yeah.
space, like all over the place, like
No, no,
or like
like we
spacey,
don't.
like in
This is
space.
yeah, like this is a sci-fi show about space travel that very, very rarely takes place in
In space.
space.
Yeah.
Next week we will have an actual space episode.
Oh, I bet Thor is there. That's my prediction now.
Okay. Um, well, so next week we will have space, but before that we will have our season wrap up episode of the first season of The Exorcist on our Thriller Thursday episode.
Also, what day does this come out? What is the date? It's like
The
the
date
30th.
is September 30th. Yes.
So, for those of you listening, tomorrow is the first day of October, which, yep,
Yes.
the first day of October, which means I'm going to try and start my third annual 31 Days of Halloween watch. And so, stay tuned with the social media. And if you have
Okay.
suggestions, thoughts, ideas, if you're doing it too, let me know. That'll be tomorrow.
Also, This is complete conjecture, and if I'm very wrong, then I might cut this last piece out, but I'm hoping maybe that by the time this episode comes out, I might be engaged.
What?
I don't know. I don't know. I think it's coming this week, but I don't know.
This
Um, so yeah.
You really dropped the ball before we got on here because that should have been pre episode conversation.
I just wanted your genuine reaction on the podcast.
You want to be recorded yelling at
Yes.
you?
Yes. That is 100% conjecture and based entirely on speculation that I will give Courtney more details about
In 10 seconds.
yeah, when we hang up because you don't need to know all the nitty-gritty. But yeah, it is possible that when this episode comes out, I will be engaged. So
I can't with you.
um if you have thoughts about
I have
Stargate,
so many.
if you have thoughts about Stargate, about Courtney's 30 days, 31 days of horror, about my potential upcoming nuptials, or about The Exorcist, please reach out. You can email us at deathandaliens@gmail.com. You can follow us on all the social media at Death and Aliens. You can follow me everywhere at EMKAY_superstar.
And you can follow me at CE Cloud 13.
And we will see you all on Thursday.
Maybe.
Bye.
Bye.